Salam sejahtera, anda sedang menyaksikan Niaga AWANI bersama saya Nina Rozman. Seperti biasa, segmen ini kami akan berikan tumpuan kepada pelbagai sudut pandangan iaitu perkembangan terkini mengenai ekonomi tempatan hingga ke antarabangsa, di mana kami akan menjemput pelbagai ahli pandai jemputan, tokoh perniagaan untuk kupas lebih mendalam bagaimanakah lanskap ekonomi dan juga sektor kewangan untuk anda fahami sebelum anda membuat apa-apa keputusan mengenai pelaburan. Sudah tentu banyak sebenarnya berita akan kami bawakan hari ini mengenai PKS dan cukai dan pelbagai lagi. Dan kali ini saya akan mulakan dengan berita pertama adalah PROTON Holdings Berhad mengumumkan panggilan semula modal X90 susulan kecacatan pendawaian yang boleh membawa kepada insiden haba atau thermal insiden. Pengeluar kereta nasional itu dalam satu kenyataan menjelaskan siasatan dalaman yang dibuat pada model kenderaan utility sukan SUV itu mengenal pasti masalah pada salah satu sambungan pembumiannya. Perkara ini boleh menyebabkan panas keterlaluan di sekitar penyambung apabila arus besar yang berterusan mengalir melaluinya dan boleh mengakibatkan insiden haba berdekatan dengan bahan kalis bunyi. PROTON berkata pemilik X90 akan dihubungi secara individu oleh pengedar mereka untuk mengatur temujanji bagi kerja-kerja pembaikan. Syarikat itu juga menjelaskan bahawa bateri hybrid ringan di dalam kenderaan itu bukan sebahagian daripada masalah. PROTON X90 adalah model terkini yang dilancarkan pada Mei lalu. Sebelum itu juga, tular video PROTON X90 terbakar yang dikongsi secara dalam talian yang mana mencetuskan spekulasi bahawa ia disebabkan oleh bateri hybrid 48V kenderaan itu. PROTON terdahulu menjelaskan PROTON X90 yang terbakar seperti dipaparkan dalam video yang tular itu bukan disebabkan letupan bateri hybrid ringan 48V model berkenaan. Pengeluar kereta nasional itu mengambil maklum berhubung insiden terbabit dan kereta berkenaan sudah berada dalam simpanan syarikat itu. Pasukannya sedang menjalankan siasatan yang teliti dan akan bekerjasama rapat dengan pihak berkuasa yang berkaitan untuk menentukan punca kejadian. Pihaknya juga menjelaskan bahawa tiada letupan yang disebabkan oleh bateri hybrid ringan PROTON X90. AirAsia mengumumkan bahawa rancangannya untuk mengaktifkan kembali ke semua 204 pesawatnya disokong oleh perjanjian baharu bersama rakan kongsi jangka panjang serta pembekal enjinnya CFM International. Fokus CVM untuk meningkatkan kestabilan pesawat di lapangan dan pemantauan maya 24 jam terhadap operasi enjin LEAP-1A AirAsia adalah pemangkin penting bagi syarikat penerbangan itu mengaktifkan semula pesawatnya di seluruh kumpulan. Ketua Pegawai Eksekutif Capital A, Tan Sri Tony Fernandez berkata, selepas lebih 2 tahun COVID-19 melanda, syarikat penerbangan tambang rendah itu kini mula melihat cahaya di hujung terowong. Pihaknya mengambil langkah besar untuk mengembalikan pesawat dan memulakan semula operasi, mengimbangkan ketidakseimbangan kos untuk 204 buah pesawat dan pendapatan daripada penerbangan purata 143 pesawat tahun ini. Ketika ini 175 pesawat kendaliannya telah diaktifkan semula, pihaknya mengharapkan keputusan suku keempat bertambah baik apabila ia akan memperlihat prestasi sebenar AirAsia dengan pengoperasian pesawat penuh. Ketua Pegawai Eksekutif Kumpulan AirAsia Aviation, Bollingham pula berkata, syarikat amat berbesar hati dengan perkembangan terkini oleh pembekal enjin dan penyedia perkhidmatan. Ini akan mempercepatkan lagi rancangan pihaknya untuk mengembalikan kapasiti malah melebihi tahun 2019. Dengan fokus kukuh CFM pada kestabilan pesawat dan sokongan perkhidmatan, ia pemangkin yang membolehkan AirAsia mengoperasikan enjin pesawat LEAP dengan lebih lama serta membantu syarikat penerbangan itu mengurangkan kos penyelenggaraan dan perbelanjaan operasi. AirAsia berharap untuk memanfaatkan pencapaian ini sementara syarikat penerbangan itu mengaktifkan semula keseluruhan 204 pesawatnya dan berkembang kepada lebih daripada 300 pesawat dalam tempoh 5 tahun akan datang. Penjana Kapital Sdn Berhad melantik Tunku Ali Zakri alias sebagai pengerusinya yang baharu berkuat kuasa 8 September 2023. Bekas Ketua Pegawai Eksekutif CEO Kumpulan Wang Simpanan Pekerja KWSP itu akan mengetuai lembaga pengarah dan pasukan eksekutif dalam memastikan Penjana Kapital meneruskan pertumbuhan dalam industri modal teroka VC di Malaysia.
Penjana Kapital dalam satu kenyataan berkata pelantikan Tunku Ali Zakri mencerminkan komitmen syarikat itu untuk merangsang ekonomi Malaysia dengan membuktikan perniagaan Malaysia kalis masa depan menerusi inovasi. Ujarnya inovasi daripada syarikat pemula dibiayai modal swasta daripada pelabur strategik antarabangsa dan domestik swasta dipadankan oleh kerajaan dan seterusnya mewujudkan industri VC yang rancak dan mampan di Malaysia. Penjara kapital ditubuhkan pada 1 Julai 2020 sebagai sebahagian daripada inisiatif Kerajaan Malaysia untuk mempercepat pemulihan ekonomi Malaysia. Ia ditubuhkan untuk mendukung digitalisasi dan automasi perniagaan Malaysia dengan membawa dana dari pelabuhan antarabangsa dan tempatan ke pasaran modal teruka tempatan. Tunku Ali Zakri mempunyai pengalaman lebih 20 tahun dalam pelbagai bidang seperti pengurusan dana, sektor kewangan, perbankan, keselamatan sosial, penjagaan kesihatan, media dan telekomunikasi, pembangunan hartanah, peladangan serta minyak dan gas. Beliau mula menyertai KWSP pada 2014 sebagai timbalan Ketua Pegawai Eksekutif Strategi dan kemudian berkhidmat sebagai Ketua Pegawai Eksekutif dari 2018 hingga Februari 2021. Tunku Ali Zakri juga dilantik sebagai pengerusi Malaysia Venture Capital Management Berhad atau MAVCAP.
Kenyataan Menteri Ekonomi Rafizi Ramli bahawa kerajaan tidak menolak untuk memperkenalkan semula cukai barangan dan perkhidmatan GST yang telah dimansuhkan sebelum ini sebagai satu tindakan berani. Bekas Ahli Parlimen Rembau, Khairi Jamaluddin berpandangan akan berlaku kesan inflasi sekiranya kerajaan memperkenalkan semula cukai berkenaan.
I warn the government dan ramai yang warn government kata the moment you mansuhkan GST satu ketika nanti terpaksa melalui peristiwa yang sama untuk memperkenalkan GST dan kita kena akui Syaril bahawa when you reintroduce GST bila diperkenalkan semula GST akan ada kesan inflationary kesan.
Maybe one off tapi ada lah.
Tapi akan ada. Sebab setiap kali dibuat GST daripada SST yang sedia akan ada kesan inflasi.
Sementara itu bekas Ketua Penerangan UMNO Syahril Hamdan pula berpandangan perlu ada penjelasan daripada Menteri Kabinet sekiranya pengenalan semula GST di negara ini.
Ini adalah dua kenyataan yang ada kesan politik besar KJ. Dan saya tak kata Menteri Ekonomi tak boleh buat perkara ini, memang mungkin patut, tapi saya harap ada backup lah daripada Kabinet Minister selepas ini. Jangan seperti progressive wage model.
Tak ada backup.
Yang saya dengar, tak dengar pun Menteri Sumber Manusia banyak bercakap.
Kedua-dua mereka berkata demikian dalam program podcast Keluar Sekejap bersama Khairi pada Rabu.
During the National Tax Conference, Prime Minister Datuk Seri Anwar Ibrahim emphasised the need for taxation to be necessary and not burdensome. Since taxation has always been the talk of the town, especially right now, how can this be done? How businesses can navigate this ever-evolving tax landscape, given that SMEs are the backbone of Malaysia's economy, contributing over 38% to our GDP, and understanding tax intricacies is vital. Joining us as we dive into innovative approaches to taxation and recent industry developments, shedding light on how businesses can thrive while benefiting our nation prosperity is. In the studio is Tanish Khanna, the partner of Tax. I want to say thank you so much for joining us. How are you?
I'm good. Pleasure.
All right, definitely Belanjawan Badani 2024 will be presented, we can say next month on October. Maybe you can share with us what are some of the development in the tax involving the corporation, businesses. As you can see, for instance, the talk of implementation of capital gains tax.
Yeah, I think capital gain tax, we are not alone. In the February budget, it has already announced capital gain tax will be implemented in 2024. And we're not alone. Hong Kong, Singapore also are either implementing or for the case of Hong Kong, expanding their CGT regime. So we expect the 13 October budget to have more details about Malaysia's CGT model, capital gain tax model. What we already know is for domestic gain, it may be primarily limited to gain by companies on disposal of unlisted shares. So that Bursa Malaysia is not affected. But for foreign gains, we have to see what the scope is. Kalau kita tengok EU punya Code of Conduct and Governance, dia encourage countries to implement CGT on wide scope of assets. So that remains to be seen. So CGT is one. The other thing is e-invoicing. LHDN is rolling out e-invoicing initiative starting from June 2024 for businesses of 100 million turnover. So the SME got more time to prepare. From 2027, it will be mandatory for everyone. So the announcement around that might be included in the 13 October budget. Then there's also Pillar 2 yang menyatakan the MNCs must pay minimum 15% tax in every jurisdiction that they operate. So details of that may also be in the budget. And of course, there's this widely speculated GST proposal to include GST. Yeah, but of course, many feel that this is a bit premature for Malaysia to have GST in 2024.
Probably a lot of businesses out there are asking, how will this impact my businesses?
So for GST, of course, it will. Kalau kita tengok SST sekarang, we have about 70,000 businesses that is registered for SST. Kalau kita tengok GST, is about 480,000 businesses lebih kurang. So we're talking about additional 400,000 businesses having to register and comply and paperwork.
There's a lot of work actually.
There's a lot of work there. Then of course in terms of CGT, capital gains tax, in terms of your holding structure, you might want to streamline things before CGT comes into picture.
All right, maybe you can share with us what are some of the typical misconceptions from business about the CGT, especially in the narrow view of annual corporate tax compliance.
Yeah, sometimes businesses look at tax professionals as individuals who come in at the end of the year and do a one-off submission, but that is a very narrow way to look at the role of tax professional. Tax professional can add a lot of value to businesses to unlock a lot of values. This can be in the form of, contohnya, if you talk about your raw material supply chain costs, tax professional can help you to take advantage of free trade agreements to legitimately reduce the raw material costs. Malaysia has a lot of free trade agreements, but are businesses fully utilizing it? Sometimes not. So that's where tax professionals can come in to unlock values, hidden profits in a business. Same thing, Malaysia had 70 over double tax agreements. So that's another area, if we talk about particularly digital related industries or advertising related industries, that's another area where tax professionals can help to add value to the business supply chain.
Talking about GST, CGT, the government talking or implementing is definitely not a popular decision to be executed. But maybe you can share with us, how can the government strike a balance between generating a revenue and ensuring tax burden do not stifle economy growth?
I think CGT and GST are very different topics. Because CGT, there's international scrutiny. Of course, we don't want Malaysia to be in the EU's grey list. So that is something that we may have to implement, particularly for foreign source CGT. And that's exactly what Singapore and Hong Kong has been doing as well, all effective 2024. GST is a different topic altogether. The last time we had GST, the last full 12-month period is 2017. Our GST collection was 44 billion. And now SST is giving us 31 billion.
Okay.
So that's about 13 billion extra. If you were to implement GST as it was previously. Now there's a few problems here. First of all, when we introduced GST back in 2015 to 2018, that was not a full-blown GST model to begin with.
Okay.
That was already showered with so much exemptions and zero rating for whatever reason. So, the argument that GST helps to tackle black economy, to include robustness, that's true to a certain extent, but not to a full extent for the case of Malaysia, because when we introduced GST back in 2015, that wasn't a full-blown model. Now, if today we go back to that model and implement that model, we're talking about 44 billion. But don't forget, 44 billion belum tolak refund. There's some refund that was given post-2018 as well. So that's already a rather thin margin of 13 billion there. Then there are some talks, some that say that, we shouldn't introduce GST at 6%, we should do it at 4%. Bagi I, kalau 4%, if you take simple maths, 44 billion, divide by 6, multiply by 4, it's actually 30 billion. Lebih kurang sama dengan SST collection.
Wow.
So what is the motivation to implement GST if we were to do it at 4%? There's no additional revenue. Plus, there could be expectations of more handouts and all that. So how do you balance that?
But some experts say to start at a lower base or percentage, it's a good idea to start something, and then after the economy a bit more stabilized, then you can change the base or the percentage.
See, that's true. But let's not forget, GST is not additional revenue. It comes with the opportunity cost of SST. Sekarang kita dah ada SST pun, sales tax on goods at 10%, service tax at 6%. So if you introduce GST, contohlah, at 4% as what some propose, on services you lose 2% outright. On goods from 10% of factory price, it becomes, say, 4% of retail price. Then how do you, in order to balance the book, you have to tax more items. So when you tax more items, does that fit into a progressive tax system? Does that fit into the government's priority to tackle the cost of living issues? So that's the main concern. I've written 3 books on GST, and in the books I had back in 2014, I was a proponent of GST back in 2014, 2015. That time, yes, it's a different story, but today it's a slightly different situation. So we talk about pricing adjustment in perfect model, and then we talk about market imperfections. So GST, essentially what it does is it taxes more items than SST.
Okay.
And if you reduce the rate, then you are actually reducing the tax on currently taxable items, and then hoping that our Anti-Profiteering Act ensures that price reduction is passed on to the consumers. And on the other hand, you're taxing more items. So we need very good planning. Like, tax is not something that we can handle on a year-on-year basis, especially for things like GST. We need a master plan, a 5-year plan to tell businesses in advance, okay, we're going to do this in this year, and then you prepare in advance like that. Cannot be that we look at the books, oh, this year tak cukup revenue, we introduce new tax. It doesn't work like that for investor certainty and all that.
Okay. You're saying that maybe introduce a 5-year clear plan so they know what to do and the impact of it. So how, with the introduction of new taxes like the capital gains tax, how can businesses of various sizes adapt to these changes and even mitigate potential adverse effects on their operations and profitability?
I think 2 things. One is, of course, prepare early. The other thing is Malaysia has a lot of, as I said, a lot of free trade agreements, double tax agreements, but sometimes SMEs don't really take full advantage of it. So that's the other thing. It's not only new taxes. Malaysia also has a lot of free trade agreements that it enters from time to time, a lot of double tax agreements and so on as well. So that's something that businesses should not only look at new taxes, but also should look at new bilateral, multilateral agreements that Malaysia is entering into and see to take advantage of it.
Maybe my last question is, can touch on how can individuals and businesses better understand the broader implications of taxations beyond corporate tax compliance, such as impact on daily life and business operations?
Yeah, I think that's a very good question. Tax is there in our everyday life. You go to supermarket, you buy anything that's already taxed there. You buy something online to get delivered to your doorstep, there's already tax impact, tax considerations there that happens when goods are imported. But sometimes individuals take it for granted. So it's good for everyone to keep an eye on where you're paying tax, what you're paying tax. And also, of course, the other thing is to be familiar with the personal relief list, so that when you incur certain personal expenses, you keep receipts of those expenses, those items, to reduce the final tax payable as well.
We understand doing the execution of taxes, maybe unpopular decisions, we can say, among the rakyat, but government is doing subsidies, so it has to be a balanced way by creating revenue, but it's important for them to help the rakyat understand the implication of this tax. Definitely, I want to say, please come again to the studio, because Belanjawan Madani 2024 is around the corner actually. And definitely, I want to say thank you very much to our partner Tratax, Tanish Kana, and everything on the discussion over here will be uploaded in astroawani.com and all platform of digital Astro Awani.
Strong and Long baharu, menguatkan rambut dari akar ke hujung. Biarkan panjang. Strong and Long.
Magnum Matcha Crumble Baharu. Ice cream matcha lembut. Saludan coklat tebal. dan cebisan biskut Rango. Magnum Matcha Crumble baru. Magnum, kenikmatan sejati.
Itu bukan cara nak nyanyi, adik. Gillette Flexi Vibe, kepala fleksibel. Cukup sekali terus licin. Cukup sekali terus licin, tak kecoh. Gillette Flexi Vibe.
Markah juri menunjukkan you tak layak tau.
Ini persembahan yang paling buruk sekali yang pernah saya dengar.
Saya rasa you bagus untuk show.
$1 million bonus.
Stream di Astro dan On Demand.
Bertemu kembali, Perdana Menteri Datuk Seri Anwar Ibrahim memaklumkan bahawa wujud peningkatan minat dalam kalangan komuniti pelaburan di Singapura terhadap prospek pelaburan di Malaysia. Jelasnya beberapa syarikat yang berpusat di Singapura sudah berada di Malaysia, tetapi wujud peningkatan dari segi minat dan potensi pelaburan negara.
Well, they're very supportive. See, the investors see Malaysia crossroads. Whether to be stuck to the past or to move forward. And they accept the fact that the new government in Malaysia has now embarked on a new course. And questions really to that. You know, there's a new policy, new industrial master plan, there's new energy transition, economy madani. Even in our submission of the midterm review draft Malaysia plan, they also see that there's a shift from the old framework or policies to some of the new adjustments.
Tambah bentuk kewangan itu, komuniti pelabur memberi sokongan terhadap dasar berkenaan dan mengakui bahawa Malaysia berada di persimpangan untuk bergerak ke hadapan. Turut bersama delegasi Perdana Menteri, Menteri Luar Datuk Seri Zamri Kadir dan Menteri Pelaburan, Perdagangan dan Industri Tengku Datuk Seri Zafrul Tengku Abdul Aziz. Anwar juga turut serta dalam sidang kemuncak Asia ke-10 anjuran Milken Institute di Singapura di mana terlibat menerusi sesi A Conversation with the Prime Minister of Malaysia yang dikendalikan oleh pengacara dan Ketua Koresponden Antarabangsa untuk Asia Tenggara Bloomberg Haslinda Amin dan disiarkan di platform media sosial Astro AWANI.
Perdana Menteri Datuk Seri Anwar Ibrahim berkata beliau akan melakukan segala yang perlu untuk mendapatkan kembali dana Satu Malaysia Development berhad 1MDB daripada Goldman Sachs. Anwar berkata tidak ada tempoh masa untuk mendapatkan kembali dana tersebut kerana skandal 1MDB itu telah berlarutan sejak sekian lama. Anwar menegaskan kerajaan mahu mengembalikan semula dana itu kepada rakyat bagi tujuan menyediakan keperluan pendidikan, kesihatan awam dan kemudahan asas kepada mereka. Justru katanya Goldman Sachs tidak boleh bersikap tidak acuh mengenai perkara tersebut. Beliau berkata demikian semasa sesi khas A Conversation with the Prime Minister of Malaysia pada sidang kemuncak Asia ke-10 Milken Institute di Singapura. Perdana Menteri berkata demikian apabila ditanya sejauh mana beliau sanggup berusaha mendapatkan kembali dana itu sekiranya Goldman Sachs tidak memberikan kerjasama. Kerajaan akan menyediakan lebih banyak pilihan tenaga alternatif bagi membolehkan kes penggunaan tenaga dijimatkan. Menteri Sumber Asli Alam Sekitar dan Perubahan Iklim Nik Nazbi Nik Ahmad berkata langkah tersebut merupakan salah satu usaha untuk membendung isu peningkatan harga tenaga terutamanya dalam sektor perniagaan.
Bagi lebih banyak alternatif selepas ini, mereka boleh buat selco, mereka boleh gunakan sekiranya mereka mahu langkah penjimatan tenaga dan sebagainya. Jadi itu antara perkara yang dilakukan dan kita juga merasakan bila kita lebih banyak tenaga boleh baru, dia juga antara perkara yang boleh mengekang sebab sekarang arang batu kita bergantung pada harga daripada bahan import. gas walaupun betul banyak ni, tetapi ia kalau betul-betul kita letak pada harga pasaran banyak turun naik dia. Jadi kita melihat TBB bukan saja soal kelestarian tapi juga soal affordability dan juga security.
Beliau berkata demikian selepas sesi dialog Belanjawan 2024 NRECC dan program naratif ekonomi madani di Ibu Negara pada Rabu. Mengulas lanjut seiring dengan matlamat negara ke arah sifar bersih karbon, peralihan tenaga ini perlu dilaksanakan dan akan terus diperkukuhkan dari semasa ke semasa. Sehubungan itu jelasnya hal ini akan menjadi salah satu agenda utama kementeriannya kepada Kementerian Kewangan untuk diperkemaskan dalam Belanjawan 2024. Terdapat 5 agenda utama yang akan dibawa kementerian itu pada pembentangan Belanjawan 2024, termasuk peralihan tenaga, pembangunan rendah karbon, pemeliharaan dan pemuliharaan biodiversiti, pelindungan alam sekitar serta pembangunan mineral.
Persatuan Perusahaan Kecil dan Sederhana Malaysia Semental Malaysia meminta kerajaan menumpukan usaha membangunkan perusahaan kecil dan sederhana PKS menjadi unicorn dan kuasi unicorn. Unicorn dan kuasi unicorn merujuk kepada syarikat persendirian yang mempunyai nilai lebih $1 bilion. Presiden Semental Datuk William Ong berkata, beberapa dana permulaan dan campur tangan kerajaan harus disalurkan kepada PKS yang mempunyai pertumbuhan tinggi dan berimpak tinggi kerana ia akan membuahkan hasil yang lebih baik. Untuk melihat bagaimana ekosistem PKS ini boleh diperkukuh seiring memacu mereka menjadi unicorn, kita bersama dengan Nitash Malani merupakan pengerusi Yayasan Usahawan Malaysia. Saya nak ucapkan terima kasih Nitash kerana sudi meluangkan masa bersama kami. Antara tajuk utama kita adalah untuk lihat balik semula bagaimanakah kita dapat kukuhkan ekosistem PKS ini. Mungkin bercakap usaha PKS bergerak sebagai unicorn, kuasi unicorn. Mungkin boleh kongsikan apa bentuk sokongan yang diperlukan PKS ketika ini mengambil konteks ekonomi semasa dalam menjadikan mereka bergelar sebagai unicorn.
Selamat pagi Nina. Thank you for having me this morning. Pada pendapat saya dari segi menarik atau membina satu syarikat untuk menjadi unicorn adalah satu proses yang ingin mendapat peluang sesama dari private sector dengan pihak kerajaan atau dari segi polisi-polisi yang akan dibentangkan ataupun telah dibentangkan dalam RMK ke-12 baru-baru ini. Di antaranya high growth, high value initiatives that the government has introduced. So pada pendapat saya untuk membina syarikat-syarikat unicorn daripada golongan PKS, pihak kerajaan perlulah memberi inisiatif yang agak clear, very clear policy status yang boleh mendapat insentif-insentif ataupun hand-holding initiative yang dapat membina syarikat ini kepada global platforms.
Bercakap mengenai limpahan industri HGV ini, apa boleh lihat apakah PKS yang dilihat mempunyai pertumbuhan dan impak tinggi yang mampu dijana? Bagaimana Nitash?
Pada pendapat saya untuk dalam tajuk HGHV ini terdapat pelbagai industri-industri yang kita nampak di for the last 12-15 months. Di antara industri yang kita nampak high impact growth is IoT, data centers, technology and digital showcase. Industri-industri ini memang berkembang over the last 15 months and mendapat banyak investment dari bukan sahaja di dalam negara tetapi dari luar negara. Di Malaysia kita nampak satu-satu syarikat yang kebelakangan ini yang kita nampak adalah syarikat Tesla, syarikat global yang memilih Malaysia sebagai regional hub. And pada pendapat saya, bila kerajaan mendapat syarikat seperti Tesla untuk membuat investment di negara kita, ia akan membagi impak yang agak besar kepada golongan PKS di bawah untuk menaik tarafkan service deliverables mereka.
Jadi macam mana kita nak nilai dan ukur the growth of every SME serta impak yang diperoleh oleh mereka yang sedang dipantau dan dinilai? Adakah terdapat petunjuk yang spesifik khusus untuk mengukur pencapaian mereka?
Pada amnya memang dari segi bagaimana kita meninjau adakah syarikat satu menjadi syarikat unicorn atau tidak, memang kita ada benchmark dia USD 1 billion in turnover atau valuation. Pada pendapat saya ada beberapa cara atau ciri-ciri yang kita boleh membentuk suatu syarikat unicorn. Di negara jiran kita macam Malaysia atau di Singapura, kita mendapat unicorn yang dibina over the last 3 to 5 years. Agak-agak menarik kalau kita tengok syarikat unicorn beliau. Macam di Indonesia ada Gojek, beberapa syarikat yang lain. Yang mengkuatiri kita adalah syarikat Malaysia bila nak bentuk jadi unicorn, syarikat ni berpindah kepada negara lain macam Singapura atau China untuk melonjak menjadi syarikat unicorn. Adakah impact ni akan dilihat di negara kita atau di Singapura, for example? Kita nak dapat baru-baru ni, I think the last few years, Grab, Custom, pelbagai lagi syarikat. Memang syarikat tu syarikat anak Malaysia tetapi sekarang berheadquarter di Singapura. Bagaimana peluang-peluang sebegini telah ditinggalkan oleh negara kita. Ini yang it's a bit of a worrying concern. Kenapa pihak agensi-agensi kerajaan atau kerajaan sendiri tidak membentuk satu PROTON komiti yang dapat naik balik dengan syarikat-syarikat ini untuk maintain headquarters beliau di Malaysia juga dengan insentif-insentif yang diberikan. Pada one of these initiative oleh Yang Berhormat Datuk Seri Anwar Ibrahim membentuk smart collaboration between Malaysia, especially Johor dengan Singapura baru-baru ni atau semalam kita dengar. Saya mengalu-alukan inisiatif ni kerana kita boleh membentuk hub untuk syarikat Singapura, transfer of knowledge, technology and talent kepada Malaysia. So Nina, this is probably my opinion.
Jadi, do we need a stronger dasar policy untuk push them further to assist and facilitate the SMEs? Bagaimana?
I'm sure initiative, for example, they are all laid out. Bahkan if I can read through what SME Corp's initiative on supporting SMEs to become a global or competitive player. For example, contributing to GDPs up to 45%, being able to export up to 25%, 90% of SMEs to be digitalized. In order to be globally competitive, adakah satu mekanisme yang telah dirancang? Memang rancangan dia ada, tetapi apa flow untuk membentuk syarikat-syarikat ini? Kita memang menahui bagai SME adalah our backbone of our economy. Close to 90% of companies that supports the growth of talents are forming part of the SMEs. So bagaimanakah kerajaan dapat membantu syarikat-syarikat ini untuk mendapat impact yang agak besar, and we have seen a brain drain over the last 10 years especially. Pelbagai usaha-usaha telah dijalankan sebagaimana Talent Corp and various other agencies. So bila kita ada brain drain yang keluar dari negara kita, adakah syarikat-syarikat lokal atau PKS dapat saing dengan syarikat-syarikat global yang lain ataupun bukan global, regional companies? Do we have the capacity in terms of talents, in terms of investments, in terms of funding mechanism and policies from the government? So in my opinion, Nina, saya rasa polisi-polisi kerajaan perlulah lebih clear and memberi impak yang besar kepada syarikat-syarikat Malaysian companies.
Betul, itu adalah antara perkara yang perlu kita tekankan seperti yang Nitesh kongsikan bahawa kebanyakan syarikat di Malaysia ini apabila ingin menuju menjadi unicorn ataupun kuasa unicorn, mereka berpindah ke negara lain. Mungkin ada isu ataupun cabaran yang kita tak nampak dalam pasaran negara kita yang pasaran kecil ini sehingga mereka tembus pasaran yang lebih besar. Jadi sebelum kita nak cakap mereka berpindah ke negara lain, apakah antara kita boleh cakap cabaran yang PKS boleh atasi dalam pasaran kecil kita di negara sendiri, dan bercakap juga tidak henti di sini tetapi apa lagi strategi yang boleh kita gunakan untuk memperluaskan kehadiran produk PKS Malaysia ke pasaran global ataupun yang lebih besar, Nitesh?
Okey Nina, saya rasa memang kita ada bukan sahaja pasaran di Malaysia, kita ada pasaran Southeast Asian market yang agaknya berkembang year after year secara mendadak. We have seen a very strong growth policies within the Southeast Asian countries. Ini tidaklah termasuk negara India dengan China. And kalau kita look at the market space, market yang kita berdiri dari jiran-jiran kita agak besar untuk syarikat-syarikat kita berkembang. Satu policy, for example, 90% of SMEs to be digitalized, adalah satu policy yang agak bagus. Akan tetapi, adakah SMEs kita ready to adopt a lot of this digitalization program? How are they approaching products or services in order for them to export this? Number two, adakah bakat-bakat yang kita ada ni, kita tengok golongan yang keluar daripada universiti atau dengan sijil-sijil kemahiran. Pada pendapat saya, there's a lot more work to be done in terms of talent pool in Malaysia. Kita hendaklah berbincang dari pihak sekolah ke universiti dengan pengajian tinggi, dengan industri partners. Saya berpendapat ketiga-tiga pihak ni perlulah duduk sekali untuk membina lagi tunjang belakang PKS. What are the new job requirements? Kita menampak salah satu company yang telah on the global front, syarikat Aerodyne, yang today it's a global company and I think the world's largest drone services company in the world. Bagaimana Aerodyne boleh melonjak kepada status sebegini? Aerodyne adalah most probably a very proud unicorn of Malaysia, and homegrown built, scale with local talents. So I think there's a mixed balance. Yes, we have the talents, tetapi bagaimana kita boleh menjana pendapatan untuk maintain this talent di Malaysia, bukannya orang-orang ni akan mencari peluang yang lain di negara jiran kita.
Baik, seperti yang Nitesh kongsikan bahawa banyak aspek yang perlu kita teliti untuk kita perkukuhkan ekosistem PKS, bukan sahaja untuk pergi ke pacu sebagai unicorn, tetapi sehinggalah peringkat global yang antara yang telah dikongsikan, kita harus lihat bagaimanakah kapasiti talent kita di Malaysia, policy yang lebih kukuh, investment, termasuk juga dengan kerjasama pelbagai pihak. Sudah tentu saya nak ucapkan terima kasih kepada Nitesh Malani, merupakan pengerusi Yayasan Usahawan Malaysia, dan semua ini akan kami rangkumkan dalam astroawani.com dan semua platform digital Astro Awani.
Jiwa SME akan meneruskan jelajahnya. Bagi orang Kelantan, destinasi jelajah jiwa SME yang seterusnya adalah Kota Baru Kelantan. Jangan ketinggalan untuk bersama-sama kami kerana macam-macam aktiviti menanti anda. Bengkel usahawan dibawakan oleh Unify Business dan Bank Rakyat. Perkongsian toko PKS, sesi saya jual yang dibuka untuk semua dan banyak lagi. Ada juga persembahan narik dan cabutan bertuah. Banyak hadiah menanti anda. Jelajah jiwa SME di Kelantan bakal berlangsung selama 2 hari di Ion Mall, Kota Baru. Jumpa anda pada 15 dan 16 September ini. Info lanjut layari www.jiwasme.com.my. Jiwa SME, gelanggang inspirasi usahawan.
Perkhidmatan dobi layan diri semakin mendapat permintaan orang ramai, terutama bagi mereka yang tiada masa untuk melakukan sebahagian kerja rumah itu. Mesin basuh menggunakan token serta layan diri juga wujud di kebanyakan tempat, terutama di kawasan perumahan. Perniagaan Asmat Jaya Enterprise antara yang berjaya mengembangkan perkhidmatan itu menerusi promosi pemasaran melalui media sosial.
Asmat maklumkan perniagaan kedai dobinya dibuka pada tahun 2019 di kawasan Rantau Panjang. Melalui platform media sosial, dia mengiklankan perkhidmatan membasuh, menggosok pakaian seterusnya memulangkan pakaian kepada pelanggan.
Okey, saya menggunakan media sosial juga untuk orang tarikkan pelanggan untuk mari kat dobi sini. Saya buat servis, gosok dan lipat. Bermaknanya kalau orang sibuk, sekarang ni kalau orang sibuk, dia mari letak je. Dia mata letak, lepas tu saya akan buat servis untuk gosok dan lipat. Atas orang lah, kadang-kadang dia mari letak, dia suruh buat gitu je. Ada juga orang suruh mari gosok. Jadi pertarikan di situlah saya ramai pelanggan. Dan juga sabun saya memang organik. Saya guna sabun MV. Sabun yang mahal dan juga warna baju dia tak turun. Saya tengok dalam kawasan saya duduk ni ramai kaki tangan kerajaan. Apabila kaki tangan kerajaan dia memang busy lah. Tapi apabila dia busy dia boleh tinggal baju tu. Kita akan buat servis lipat, gosok, siap lah.
Katanya walaupun perniagaan dobi layan diri turut berdepan dengan saingan premis lain, tambah nilai perkhidmatan melalui bahan di media sosial meletakkan perniagaan dobinya kekal teguh bersaing.
Kalau bagi saya, kalau buka dobi kita tak payah peningkan turun modal banyak kali. Kita turun modal sekali dan kita just servis mari kalau macam mesin lekat ke gapo tu sahaja. Bagi orang malas nak mikir banyak, nak kena mikir nak konten nak gapo, buka dobi je. Betul. Masih lagi memerlukan media sosial untuk perkenalkan sini ada dobi servis. Servis macam lipat kain, gosok kain itulah. Walaupun dia 24 jam letak koin, tapi stay ada servis. Saya ada staff 24 jam. Kedai dobi. Okey, kalau profit kedai dobi ni semenjak saya buka ni alhamdulillah balik dah modal lah. Gitu. Sebab kita pakai staff apa semua cuci-cuci ni ada dalam 6,000, 5,000 sebulan. Boleh lah kalau untuk saya nak, kalau saya tak ada esok anak saya nak makan pun boleh lah. Macam anak autism saat ni kan. Dah nampak hasil lah. Sebab saya fikir kalau dobi ni, kalau contoh, kita tak tahu anak kita tu otak macam kita ke tak. Jadi dia apabila kita buka dobi ni, dia tak perlu fikir apa-apa. Dia just tambah sabun. Just main servis. Tak perlu nak fikir dah hari ni aku nak buat konten ke apa, hari ni aku nak jualan aku nak pergi jajah mana. Tak perlu fikir benda tu. Mari jaga betul-betul lah.
Kedainya kini mempunyai 10 buah mesin cucian automatik. Walaupun modal besar perlu dilaburkan untuk menjalankan operasi kedai dobi, namun pulangannya dapat diperolehi dalam tempoh masa singkat selain kurang risiko perniagaan.
Matcha crumble baru. Aiskrim matcha lembut. Salutan coklat tebal dan cepisan biskut rangup. Magnum matcha crumble baru. Magnum, kenikmatan sejati.
Terdapat banyak kuman yang mengancam hari ini. Kerana itu, Lifebuoy dipertingkat dengan Multivitamins Plus. Mandi menggunakan Lifebuoy dengan Multivitamins Plus baharu. 10 kali pelindungan kuman untuk kulit yang sihat. Lifebuoy
dengan Multivitamins Plus. Hati-hati tau.
Tapi hati-hati tau.
Seram.
Dalam kehidupan ini, yang kita, abang ni tak berlakon ni. Saya Johan di hati awak.
Langsung dia terbang ke pokok kan? Awak terbang ke hati saya.
Bukanlah saya takut hantu, saya takut deposit tak dipulangkan.
Bersama artis jemputan Syikin Kamal dalam sepatu reunion live di Astro Warna dan Astro Go.
Baik, kita teruskan bagaimanakah perkembangan ringgit di mana semalam ia ditutup mengukuh berbanding yen Jepun namun rendah berbanding dolar Amerika Syarikat menjelang pengumuman mengenai data inflasi Amerika Syarikat pada lewat Rabu. Ini adalah menurut penganalisis. Dan pada 6 petang, ringgit turun kepada 4.6785 atau 6835 berbanding dolar Amerika Syarikat daripada 4.6755 atau 6805 semalam. Dan untuk kita teliti bagaimanakah prestasi ringgit setakat pagi ini yang kita boleh teliti pada jam 9.48 pagi untuk kita lihat, iaitu ringgit pada pagi ini adalah pada paras 4.679. Dan kalau untuk kita teliti bagaimanakah pergerakan ringgit semalam, untuk kita teliti daripada 13 hinggalah 14 September, ini adalah pergerakan ringgit pada semalam kita dapat teliti pada awalnya berada pada paras 4.675 di sini. Namun kita dapat lihat dalam masa semalam ia telah meningkat dan menurun. Pada jam lepas pukul 4 kita dapat lihat ringgit kita menurun sekejap and then kita turun lagi sehinggalah mencapai pada paras yang ini. Dan ini adalah prestasi yang kita dapat saksikan untuk ringgit setakat ini. Dan bagaimana pula dengan Bursa Malaysia di mana indeks petunjuk utama Bursa Malaysia mengakhiri sesi dagangan baharu dengan lebih positif serta dipacu oleh minat terhadap saham berharga rendah. Walaupun aktiviti berhati-hati menguasai pasaran, kalangan pelabur terus memberi tumpuan terhadap pengumuman data inflasi Amerika Syarikat lewat hari ini yang bakal memberi gambaran serta turut mempengaruhi prospek dasar Rizab Persekutuan Amerika Syarikat (Fed). Dan pada 5 petang, indeks utama FTSE Bursa Malaysia KLCI menokok 0.15 mata untuk ditutup mencecah paras tertinggi harian pada 1453.54. Dan untuk kita teliti prestasi Bursa Malaysia FBM KLCI setakat pagi ini, iaitu pada jam 9.34 pagi, iaitu prestasi FBM KLCI kita berada pada 1447.62, iaitu bersamaan negatif 0.41%, penurunan yang kita dapat saksikan kepada negatif 5.92%. Dan ini apa yang kita dapat saksikan mengenai prestasi Bursa Malaysia setakat pagi ini. Dan sudah tentu banyak lagi selepas ini kami akan kongsikan bagaimanakah prestasi pasaran serantau, iaitu untuk kita teliti pasaran US. Dan izinkan saya untuk berbahasa Inggeris untuk kita teliti, lihat bagaimanakah S&P 500 kali ini. Okay, that's about our market. Let's take a look at US market. The S&P 500 and Nasdaq ended higher on Wednesday after data showing a moderate increase in consumer prices in August cemented expectation that the Federal Reserve will leave interest rate unchanged in September. Mega cap growth stocks Tesla, Meta Platform, Microsoft and Amazon.com gained over 1% each, and Apple dipped 1.2% down for a second day after unveiling new iPhones on Tuesday, while leaving prices unchanged. The S&P 500 climbed 0.12% to end the session at 4,467.44 points. The Nasdaq gained 0.29% to 13,813.59 points, while the Dow Jones Industrial Average declined 0.20% to 34,575.53 points. Data show consumer prices increased by the most in 14 months. In August, as gasoline prices surged, but the annual rise in underlying inflation was the smallest in nearly 2 years. All right, the S&P 500, as I mentioned, climbed 0.12% to end the session at 4,467.44 points, and the Nasdaq gained 0.29% to 13,813.59 points, while the Dow Jones Industrial Average declined 0.20% to 34,575.53 points. And let's see, how is our S&P 500 currently as of this morning? So we can see it's a bit mixed of waves of market. It's a bit green and red. We're going to start with one of the biggest sector within the S&P 500 is the technology sector, where Microsoft, EU antitrust regulators are asking Microsoft rivals and customers, whether they are affected by the US tech giant's proposal to gain UK approval for its $69 billion acquisition of Activision. Blizzard sources close to the matter said Microsoft last month offered to sell its cloud streaming rights to Ubisoft Entertainment after Britain's Competition and Markets Authority CMA blocked the biggest gaming deal in history. The European Commission had cleared the deal in May after Microsoft agreed to license popular Activision's games such as Call of Duty to rival game streaming platform. The clearance was given before Microsoft proposed to Ubisoft deal to appease the UK regulator. However, the EU antitrust watchdog has since emailed companies to ask for feedback, the sources told Reuters. The sources said it has not launched a formal investigation, suggesting it may be waiting for a CMA decision before making any movement. And as of this morning, we can see Microsoft is open at 1.29%. And definitely we can see Adobe also open at 2.09%. With the latest news about Adobe is following several months of beta testing. Adobe has announced that its Firefly generative AI model is now commercially available across Adobe Creative Cloud, Adobe Express and Adobe Experience Cloud. That means the Firefly Power workflows that have so far been limited to the meta versions of Adobe apps, like Illustrator, Vector, Recoloring, Express Text to Image effects, and Photoshop's generative field tools are now generally available to most users. Adobe is also launching a standalone Firefly web app that will allow users to explore some of its generative capabilities without subscribing to specific Adobe Creative Suite applications. Adobe Express Premium and the Firefly web app will be included as part of the paid Creative Cloud subscription plan. And we can see about NVIDIA. It's about Fabrica, a Silicon Valley chip startup working on network chips for artificial intelligence. And that it has, we can see the AI data center said on Tuesday that it has raised $125 billion in venture capital, with NVIDIA joining as a strategic investor. Founded by executive from Broadcom, and Alphabet, Google and Fabrica is part of a broader trend of data centers being completely redesigned to create generative AI technologies similar to ChatGPT. Chips from NVIDIA, the world's most valuable semiconductor firm, are at the heart of that transition. But NVIDIA's graphic processing unit chips face a problem. They sometimes sit idle because the networks connecting them cannot feed them data fast enough. And we can see NVIDIA as of this morning is 1.37%. Next, we're going to see about the Apple, who just launched the new iPhone without the price is unchanged. We can see that Apple, as now we can see it's a Red Sea. Apple faces challenges frontier left and center. First with Europe, where Apple defended its iPhone 12 model on Wednesday after a French watchdog ordered a halt to its sales, citing breaches of European Union radiation exposure limits. The French move raised the prospect of further bans in Europe. Apart from that, Apple's iPhone 15 drew mixed reaction in its third largest market of China's on Wednesday, with many online users liking its faster chip and improved gaming capabilities, while others prefer Huawei's new smartphone. And China's remains key for the US tech giant, which unveiled its new iPhone lineup on Tuesday. The company occupies a leading position in China's premium smartphone market, in part due to the decimation of Huawei technology smartphones businesses by US export controls, but has also come under scrutiny in the run-up to the iPhone's 15 launch. And we can see under the sector of industry of Tesla, which is up by this morning 1.43%, where Tesla CEO Elon Musk called on Wednesday for a US referee for artificial intelligence after he Meta Platforms' Mark Zuckerberg and Alphabet CEO Sundar Pichai met with lawmakers AI Capitol Hill behind closed doors for a forum on regulating AI. Lawmakers are seeking ways to mitigate dangers of emerging technology, which has boomed in investment and consumer popularity since the release of OpenAI's ChatGPT chatbox. Musk said it was need for a regulator to ensure the safe use of AI. Musk said the meeting was a service to humanity and said it may go down in history and very important to the future of civilization. Musk confirmed that he had called AI a double-edged sword. During the forum, Zuckerberg said Congress should engage with AI to support innovation and safeguards. This is an emerging technology. There are important equities to balance here, and the government is ultimately responsible for that. And more than 60 senators took part. Lawmakers said there was a universal agreement about the need for government regulations of AI, but it was unclear how long it might take and how it would look. And this, for Amazon, we can see is up 2.56% this morning. And keep tuning with Niaga AWANI, bringing you the latest trend and market for regional performance. Apple defended its iPhone 12 model on Wednesday after a French watchdog ordered a halt to its sales, citing breaches of European Union radiation exposure limits. The French move raised the prospect of further bans in Europe. Next, Germany's network regulator BENZA said it might launch similar proceedings and was in close contact with French authorities, while Spain's OCU Consumers Group urged authorities there to halt the sales of the iPhone 12. Apple said in a statement the iPhone 12, launched in 2020, was certified by multiple international bodies as compliant with global radiation standards, that it had provided several Apple and third-party lab results proving the phone's compliance to the French agency, and that it was contesting its finding. Researchers have conducted a vast number of studies over the last 2 decades to assess health risks resulting from mobile phones. According to World Health Organization, no adverse health effects have so far been established as being caused by the mobile phone use. Taiwan's TSMC, which is making an unprecedented push into chip manufacturing overseas, it's taking an increasingly optimistic view of Japan as a production base. 2 industry sources told Reuters as problem persists at its new factory in Arizona. TSMC, the world's largest contract chip maker, is frustrated in Arizona, the sources said, where it has struggled to recruit workers for the grueling chip-making trade and face pushback from unions on efforts to bring in workers from Taiwan. And the company has growing confidence in Japan, where an $8.6 billion fab under construction in a chip-making hub on the island of Kyushu is on track to start producing mature technology chips in 2024, the sources said. While keen to ensure a smooth ramp-up at the first fab, the chipmaker is considering adding capacity and a second fab in Japan, the sources said, which could include the production of more advanced chips. Successful expansion by TSMC in Japan could give a boost to efforts by the country to regain its lost status as a chip manufacturing powerhouse and support its automotive and electronics industry amid growing regional competition. After this, join us with our friend is Ibrahim Sani. Will be all next. Niaga AWANI will be taking a short break and we'll be right back.
Terdapat banyak kuman yang mengancam hari ini. Kerana itu, Lifebuoy dipertingkat dengan Multivitamins Plus. Mandi menggunakan Lifebuoy dengan Multivitamins Plus baharu. 10 kali perlindungan kuman untuk kulit yang sihat. Lifebuoy
dengan Multivitamins Plus.
Magnum Matcha Crumble baharu. Aiskrim matcha lembut. Salutan coklat tebal. Dan cepisan biskut rangup. Magnum Matcha Crumble baharu. Magnum, kenikmatan sejati.
Thanks for joining us. My name is Ibrahim Sani. Very recently, RAISE is a joint venture between RAISE Australia and PNB. We want to learn more about what RAISE has to offer and, of course, a little bit more about financial literacy. Joining me in the studio is Aidi Izham, the CEO of RAISE Malaysia. Aidi, let's talk a little bit more about RAISE. It has been around for about 2 or 3 years now. Let's learn a little bit more about the relationship between RAISE Invest Australia and PNB and the outfit that you're leading right now.
Right. RAISE is a joint venture company between RAISE Invest Australia, a publicly listed company in Australia, and Permodal National Berhad PNB in Malaysia. So RAISE has operations in Australia, in Indonesia, and in Malaysia. So I'm leading the outfit in Malaysia. So what Race is actually doing, Race is a robo-advisor, simply put, but a different breed of robo, I would say. Race is licensed under the Digital Investment Management License by the Securities Commission of Malaysia, so it's legit. Right. So what Race is actually doing, the product is an app. It's an app that helps people to save and invest, but in a different and a very unique way. We help people to save very small amount of money. How small? As small as your spare change from your daily purchases. So that's basically what we're doing.
So how do you get these the little dollars and cents into the account? Like you were mentioning that this is like spare change. So how do you extract that spare change?
Right. Imagine this. After you've downloaded the app, you complete your profile, right? You will first be recommended an investment portfolio that suits your investment risk. So you could be an aggressive investor, or moderate investor, or conservative investor. And then what you do next, you just link your bank cards, your debit card and your credit cards to Race. And then just sit back and relax. Keep spending as usual. Race will be able to track your daily purchases. And then what we will do, we will round that transaction up to the next ringgit, and the spare change there will be safe. I'll give you an example. Say you spend at Petronas to fill up the gas for 40 ringgit and 60 cents. So Race will round that up to 41 ringgit, and there's a 40 cents spare change there will be safe. So that 40 cents will go to your Race account.
So because of that, the average account balance will be very small right now?
Correct.
How many active users are there?
Well, after 3 full years of operations, we are reaching 120,000.
So
120,000 active users.
Active users. Yeah. And then per balance per account?
Average balance now about 390.
Oh, that's still sizable, because I would assume it's below 100 ringgit. All right. And then, of course, I wouldn't ask about the returns, but are the returns competitive?
Well, if you are looking at on annual basis, as at July 31st, that's the latest data that we have, I would say it's okay. You know how the market performed last time, but take aggressive portfolio for an example. The return was about 4.6% around that number.
Because robo-advisor, because it's an ETF, can the users select the kind of ETFs that is being invested?
Right. For Race, it's slightly different. We don't use ETF. We use unit trust funds instead.
Oh, okay.
So those unit trust funds are sourced out from PNB unit trust funds. And when people invest, it's going to be fractionalized, and it will be invested into the portfolio. The main constituent of the portfolio are unit trust funds. For now, it's ASNB's unit trust funds.
Okay, and of course, we know that ASB account holders run into the millions, as in the number of accounts. Would 120,000 be a far cry from, say, the normal PNB customer?
Right.
Or ASNB?
The constituent of the funds right at the moment, it is not a fixed price funds from ASNB. That means there's no ASB, there's no ASB2, there's no ASB3.
Yeah, I understand. What I'm trying to say is, because we're talking about PNB per se, so you have customers that are of ASNB customer makeup, and then you have this. The number is so far from, say, the total holders of ASNB accounts. So does that mean that 120,000 means too little for PNB?
I personally don't think so. I think for us, it's a number that we are very proud of, considering the main value proposition is spare change. Spare change here is just a hook that we use to hook customers. And then we are hoping to transition these users to a more, sophisticated products. But that said, there is not just spare change there. User can also invest, the normal way, lump sum, recurring investment. But here, the difference is that they can set daily, they can set weekly, bi-weekly, or even monthly, but they can do it instantly. They can cancel it instantly in just a matter of a click. So we focus a lot on on simplicity, on making sure the app operation is very smooth. So yep, 120,000 so far to us is a good number that we have achieved.
When you say transition into more sophisticated products, what would be the ideas that you can share with us on that point?
Right. We have launched a custom portfolio where we allow users to select their own fund instead of us recommending them a predetermined funds. So they can select funds, they can even select the percentage, the allocation of the portfolio themselves. So that's one. Secondly, we will be introducing an improved version of race kits. So now it's 1.0 version. The next one is going to be 2.0, where we will let parents to educate their kids about saving and investing more.
So the account holders will be children or the parents?
The parents will still be the account holder.
Oh, okay. Why not the children?
Because of age.
Oh, there are age restrictions?
There is.
Oh, wow, okay. Yeah. Okay, let's now talk about a little bit more about some of the ideas on raising awareness when it comes to financial literacy. We know that financial literacy gap amongst Malaysians is actually quite low if we benchmark it against the market around the region. Let's look at some of the more prominent demography that is going to be impacted or could close the gap in terms of financial literacy. Where does Raise Malaysia feel the need to address financial literacy gap in this country?
I think maybe I can share this. The data that we know after 3 full years of operation, the main challenge is financial literacy. The challenge to explain to an average Malaysians how when they invested 10 ringgit, the next day it could be 9 ringgit and 90 cents. You know, they call our helpline and start shouting why my balance dropped below what I deposited. So that's the main challenge that we just discovered actually after operating for 3 years. Another thing I would say, the language barrier. So we first launched an English version. So later to find out that there is a strong demand for bahasa Melayu, bahasa Malaysia's version. So we came up with a multi-language app now. So I think the main challenge for us is because our main target is average Malaysians, people on the street. So we did a quick survey. I think about more than 30% are very new to savings and investing. So they are not exposed to this at all. So that is our challenge.
Is that, do you know the benchmark against, say, regional peers? Is that a little, 30%? Is that a lot?
Well, for us, having to, being able to introduce 30% of new investors to the capital market, it's quite an achievement for us. In fact, that is the value proposition that we've shared with the regulator back then.
All right. And then what would be the comments from the regulator? Are they impressed?
I suppose so. And also, if you are looking at our investors demographic, number 1 is always Klang Valley. But number 2, surprisingly, is Sabah and Sarawak combined.
Oh, are you surprised?
I am surprised.
Why?
Personally.
Sorry, not why you're surprised. Why is it that the take-up of Sabah Sarawak is high?
It's something that we are trying to understand also. I think maybe the idea of linking your everyday spending habit to savings, maybe it's new. I mean, from my personal experience.
Was the aggressive marketing happening in Sabah Sarawak?
No.
Oh, wow.
We don't do anything.
So it's organic?
It's organic growth.
Oh, okay, so that's something interesting.
Yeah, it's very interesting.
Okay, and of course, I think the mandate by the regulator is always trying to grow financial literacy and financial products, not just in Klang Valley, but across Malaysia. Tell me more about Semenanjung, Kelantan, Terengganu, Kedah, Johor, those areas. What's the penetration rate like there?
Klang Valley is number 1, Sabah and Sarawak number 2, Sabah and Sarawak combined is number 2, and then Johor, and then Penang, and then the rest of the states. So we don't target specific states per se. Everything is organic.
What about the age of account holders?
Right, that's very interesting. I think 88% of our investors are between the age of 18 to 44.
Okay.
So that's very young demographic.
But the band is so big. What about 18 to, I don't know, 25? How many percentage is that?
18 to 35 itself, it's about 76%.
But it's kind of natural, right? Because digital financial products are more appealing for younger audience.
Yep, could be that could be, naturally that could be the reason, because Race is 100% digital. So of course our users must be of the digital, their literacy level of digital literacy it must be very, very good, because they need to know how to operate the app.
And then because of the digital literacy, I suppose, is quite high, not just among the younger Malaysians, but generally Malaysians altogether. But the financial literacy gap is there. What more is Race thinking of doing in terms of closing the financial literacy gap using digital financial products?
Right. I think for us, we strongly believe in tapping into something that people are very familiar with, instead of asking them to change their behavior. So that's it. That is the reason why we are tapping into their everyday spending habit. An example, when I wanted to save for my down payment for my house, my mom would say, "ID, stop spending, start saving." But we tell people differently. Just keep spending, but as you spend, you save. As you spend, you save. So what we are doing here is actually tapping into that everyday behavior. So hence, the special investment is one thing, and to strengthen that value proposition, we even introduce one more feature, what we call a cashback investment, where every time they shop with our brand partners, we will receive a commission, which we will share it back with our investors. So now we have more than 100 plus brand partners in our platform, with the like of Shopee, Lazada, Asia, Agoda, So it's very simple the way it works. You just have to log into your app, click Race Rewards, we call it Race Rewards. Click Race Rewards and choose any of your brand there. And the moment you click, you will be taken to the brand's app. Just shop like usual, because we are able to track your activity there. So once your purchases are successfully completed, so you will earn that cashback, and that cashback will be in the form of savings back into your Race account.
So customer acquisition is very key, customer proposition as well, and of course, I want to learn more about the personnel inside Race Malaysia. Are they mostly PNB staff?
None.
None?
None.
Including yourself?
I am the only PNB staff being seconded to Race to champion this initiative. The rest are not a PNB staff. So most of them are fresh grads, which they are trainees from the graduate executive trainees. We train them and then we absorb them. So most of them are fresh grads.
Oh, wow.
About half.
And of course, now I want to talk about the investment side. Do you have an investment committee? What would be the kind of work that you're doing in terms of the investment side? Do you have a chief investment officer, chief risk officer? How does that work?
Well, as a regulated entity under the heavily regulated industry, there is part of the requirement that we must have this, we must have that, and one of it is having not to say a committee, but an investment team that look after your investment portfolio. Yes, we do. So we have a licensed person within the company, myself as one, and then another staff, and then we have a licensed directors as well. So at the moment, our board composition are made of PNBs, 2 are from PNB, the Chief Strategy Officer of PNB and CEO of SCNB. And then another 4 from Race Australia, the CEO and the COO, and some of them are fund managers themselves.
Let's talk a little bit more about some of the investment strategies that you're deploying right now. What is the philosophy behind trying to choose the best financial products right now for your customers?
I think for us, we focus a lot on teaching people how to save first. So yes, investing is a must, but that is second to us. Right now, we focus on instilling the habit of saving among our investors because, like I said, these people are very new to investing. They don't know what is the right way of investing yet because they are getting too used to the style of investing in fixed price funds in the EPF way, the tabung haji way. So now our focus is to make sure to educate them what is the right way of investing. So going back to the philosophy for us, it's always sikit-sikit, lama-lama jadi bukit. That has been the main philosophy behind the whole savings and investing activities.
Yeah, no, what I mean is from a CIO perspective, how are you deciding the kind of investment portfolios that needs to be looked at from that side, not from the customer acquisition side, nothing to do with the customer, just purely on the unit trust that you're selecting? What's the thinking behind it? Which ones to go after?
Right. So at the moment, it's very much Malaysian-centric, domestic-centric, across all the three.
This is what I'm trying to get at. Yeah.
Across all the 3 portfolios, and for the custom.
So what are the 3 portfolios?
The aggressive portfolio, the conservative portfolio, and the moderate portfolio.
Okay.
But for custom, that gives exposure to exposure to global investments.
And why not more global, considering that the returns could be higher?
For the custom portfolio,
the
custom portfolio. Custom portfolio, they are global centric.
Ah, okay.
They are.
And then, of course, when you look at the kind of possibilities of having a thematic theme, are you into that?
Yes, we are.
So what themes are there?
So at the moment, we are undergoing a 3-year portfolio review. So, well, the results of that, we will be reviewing all the portfolio asset allocation across all portfolios, and we could be introducing new portfolio as well, and we could be introducing new thematic portfolio.
Is it the traditional stuff like healthcare, robotics, stuff like that?
Could be could be semiconductor.
Oh yeah, because local, right?
Yeah,
oh, okay.
Yeah, that's what we're looking at.
No healthcare?
At the moment, no.
All right. Technology, other than E&E? Also no?
At the moment, no. We're looking at gold, multi-thematic.
But of course, these are not launched yet. You're just looking at it right now.
Yep. Going to be launched very soon.
Do you feel that that is an opportunity for your investors to learn more about thematic investments as well?
Yes. Precisely. Okay. So, the whole idea of custom portfolio is to start introducing to them to this kind of asset class. Right.
Let's look at the landscape right now, the wider macro landscape. Do you feel that 2023 is going to be a tough year for you guys? Not customer acquisition, but investment.
It has been tough all this while, especially the first half of the year. The first half of 2023 itself, if you're looking at how the domestic market performs, it wasn't good. It was about -7% if you're looking at KSCI itself. But what we are seeing at the moment, it is recovering starting the second half. So,
with interest rates rising, do you feel that fixed income returns could be also?
Yeah, fixed income return has started to get better. Even money market return has started to get better. Yeah.
So, you're optimistic about 2023 then?
To the fixed income, we are
not so much equities.
Skewed to the fixed income side.
Yeah, that's what I thought. So right now, what's the portfolio allocation for both?
Right now,
well, money market as well, fixed income and equities.
For custom portfolio, of course they can customize themselves.
But for the
standard portfolios,
we call it standard. Okay.
We call it standard portfolios.
Yeah.
For an aggressive portfolio, for an example, it's 80% domestic equity at the moment and 20% fixed income. So that's what we are looking at.
And the other side, the conservative.
Conservative is the other way around.
Yeah.
20% equity, 80% fixed income.
And when you talk to your investors, are you explaining these kind of ideas behind it, like the landscape of capital markets, the interaction or the correlation it has with interest rates, not just Malaysia, but of course the US and global interest rates as well? These kind of items, are these things being discussed?
Well, when we acquire them, considering most of them are very new, that comes second.
So what comes first?
The idea of instilling the habit of savings first, and then with RAISE there is a continuous learning program where we will be sending a series of educational emails.
In Bahasa Malaysia?
Yes, in BM and English, and there is via email, via a blog which is published in the app itself, so it is made easily accessible for investors to read. What
about communities, Telegram groups, I don't know, stuff like that?
Yeah, we have a community page at the social media. Right now, there are about close to 30,000 of them. Quite a good number for us. So that is when the community will share their, when they start into something, they will post their inquiries there, and the rest will come and help out.
Okay. Yeah. Still on the investment landscape, do you feel that 2024, next year, is going to be a little bit more optimistic because things are getting better?
That's what we hope. As compared to 2023, with the stabilizing inflation, so we hope 2024 will have a better outlook. And for RAISE, especially, where the economic condition is very much proportion to the number of people signing up and number of people, including number of people living as well.
Political risk is always there. Do you feel that political risk is stabilizing right now?
Political risk.
Domestically, at least.
Domestically. Well, we are very optimistic that the political will be stable moving forward after the election, especially the most recent election, and considering the next one will be in 2 years' time.
Yeah.
So yeah, we think 2024 will be a better.
And what about these long-term master plans that the government is introducing? Do you feel that these kind of ideas are going to be, I guess, bring about positive reaction towards the economy?
To the economy, that's what we hope, especially, well, I am personally looking at the can't hardly wait, looking at how the government will look at reducing the fiscal deficit, especially.
You said at 3.5, so.
Yeah, and also I am interested to know about the possible reintroduction of new tax system. Could be CGT, could be GST, right? We as an investment manager quite concerned with the introduction of CGT if there is, if that is coming through.
Why are you concerned about capital gains tax?
Because it's a capital gain, for every right
but
now.
But it's like 300 ringgit per account, like.
Yeah. Well, it will affect our investment as a whole.
Oh, really? How bad would it be?
When you as a fund manager, when they dispose of their investment of capital gain, that will be taxed off.
Yeah, but the idea here is also to tax on capital, not on labor, right? To widen the tax base.
Yep. I mean, for the investment point of view, for our investment point of view, if that is being taxed, that will affect the return to our investors. So consequently, that will affect our investors, our churn as well.
Like, we've been having it easy. That's what I'm trying to say. I'm not saying that, I enjoy all the taxes. I'm just trying to understand, like investors must also be educated on the fact that you got to be taxed on your capital gains. It's as simple as that.
Yep. So at the moment,
it happens everywhere.
It's
It's in Malaysia, so
yeah, it's a challenge.
You know, like hello.
Yeah, it's a new challenge for us. It will be a new challenge for us.
Yeah.
If that is true, lah.
Yeah, but yeah, they're pretty soft on the commitment now.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, final comments before we conclude our conversation?
Well, we have been a very strong proponent of telling people to start savings. So we are very much aware of the two major pain points of, survey by the Bank Negara. Malaysians in general hardly have 1,000 ringgit in their savings account as an emergency fund. The pinpoint with the EPF as well. So that is what we want to address. So we have been telling people that, you just have to start small, and then keep going and keep that momentum going. So over time, it will become a habit. So that's what we want to inculcate among us.
Especially on compounding interest, and if you start early, it's still going to be okay.
Correct.
Yeah. All right. If people learn more, download the app, how do they go about it?
They just have to download the app from the App Store and then start the registration process. Everything is a step-by-step process. Simple stuff, normal stuff. Start answering their personal profile, filling up their personal profile.
Is there a KYC involved?
Definitely.
Oh, like a photocopy of an IC or something like that?
Process. The normal KYC process is a must. Yeah.
Fantastic. Okay, if you learn more about Raise Malaysia, just head on to the nearest app store on your mobile phone. For now, that was our conversation with ID Izham, the CEO of Raise Malaysia. You can learn more about these kind of conversations on astroawani.com. You can just also head off to Notepad, my other show, to learn more about that as well. My name is Ibrahim Sani. Catch you in the next one.